Welcome back to another episode of Homebuyer University. I'm Dominic Villa.
And I'm Andrew Montero. And the question that everyone asks, regardless of when, is now a good time to buy? So let's unpack that, Dom.
All right, it is a question that everyone asks, and oftentimes you're going to find a ton of answers online that are super convoluted and contradictory. And honestly, a lot of those answers and videos and pundits' opinions are mainly clickbait. So let's talk about when it's the right time to buy for you.
I like that you said for you. So what do you mean by that?
That's a good question. Most people like to talk about the market or timing the market. Honestly, the market doesn't really matter as much as a lot of people like to say it does. Timing is more about what works for you as opposed to where the market's at. So let's talk about some of the big pieces you need to weigh to see if the timing is right for you to buy, not in general, what's the market doing?
In determining the right time, what's the first question that you should ask yourself?
That's good. And it all comes down to how long am I going to keep this house? Now, while the market definitely fluctuates, over time, you'll have ups and downs. In general, the California market is one that incrementally over time moves upwards fairly consistently. So if you're thinking about getting into the market, the first question to ask is, how long am I going to keep this house? If it is on the shorter time frame, say under 3 years, under 2 years, hey, I'm going to treat this as a starter home, I'm going to try and flip it quickly. That's when you need to kind of actually dive into the market a bit more, connect with your agent and say, hey, can I get a good return for my investment in a home in this neighborhood in that time frame? However, if you're going to hold the property for say 5 or 7 years or longer, it's almost always a good time to get into California real estate because those little market fluctuations over time will level out and go up as long as you're holding the property long enough. So that first question is, how long am I going to hold this house? If it's for a longer hold, it's probably a good time. If it's a shorter hold, you probably want to be a little bit more careful.
Now that we've determined how long you're going to be holding the home, which is one of the most important pieces, what follows after that?
It really comes down to lifestyle and affordability and kind of the opportunity cost to get into the market. How much do you have to pay to get into the market right now? And does that fall in line with your budget? And does this make sense for financially where you are and where you want to be? So we already know that, hey, I'm going to be holding the home for a while, but is it something I can afford in a way that still fits my lifestyle, my financial goals? If you have the combination of those two things where it financially makes sense for you, and at the same time this is going to be a mid to long-term hold, it's probably the right time.
Now that we figured out if this home fits within your budget and your lifestyle, and you've determined the amount of time that you're going to be holding onto this home, what's another thing that our clients should be looking out for?
Well, that next thing is this home is an investment, and you do want to make sure you're parking your money in the right investment. And so it's doing a little bit of due diligence and research. Now, oftentimes that market research is broad. It's for the state of California or a county or a city. What really, really is helpful is connecting with your real estate agent to say, hey, based on this property I'm investing in this neighborhood, what is that likely return? And if that all falls in line with your future financial goals and also pairs well with how long you're holding the property, that is going to be more important than the overall market timing as we look at your micro market and how that is operating.
Now that we've covered a small checklist of things for you to do your due diligence to determine if it is the right time for you to buy, what are some things that would maybe paint the opposite picture of that?
Good question. Remember, this is all about timing for you. General market trends are going to be general market trends, and there's always ways to counteract or hedge the risk in market volatility. But we want to be very realistic in our analysis of the volatility in our own profiles. So some things that we want to be on the lookout for that might lead us to this not being the right time for us has to do, again, how long are we holding the property? The shorter the hold, the more risk. But also, and probably more specifically, is what's going on in your life? Do you have any major payments coming down the pipeline? Is there instability in your job? Where are your funds invested? And is that a safe place to have it for the long term? How consistent is your career and income path going to be moving forward? And does that risk fall in line with the risks in the marketplace? So overall, it really comes down to a little bit of self-reflection It's a hard question to ask yourself, and maybe even harder to answer for yourself. But the things that would deter you from this being the right time for you is, again, any sort of instability or unpredictable kind of unfun things coming down the pipeline, and making sure you're weighing that risk and determining if this is the right time for you.
So we just covered quite a bit of information and some cool tips on helping you determine if it's the right time for you to purchase in this market. Dom, can you run us through just a quick recap?
Yeah, so of course, first and foremost, no one is going to be an expert at timing the market, even the experts themselves. But what you can time is your own time. So just remember, when determining if now is a good time for you to buy, it comes down to you. How long of a hold is this going to be? Does this fit my financial goals and comfort zones? Are there any uncertainties coming down the pipeline that I need to account for and maybe try and mitigate against? As long as those all check out, you're going to be in a good position, and it's always good to get your foot in the door to homeownership sooner rather than later, because it's only getting more expensive over time.